What is going on, All Terrain Nation? Whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or friends over across the alley there that whatever they're driving. This is your All Terrain Nation live. And Tim, what is going on, buddy?
Hey guys, it's Semester Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. If you don't know these little Saturday soiree things we do, it's we're streaming on to both audiences, just talking about trucks. So if you're joining us here, yes, it's live on the channel, and yes, that is Dave.
That is me. And I say hi to all the Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk people. Tim, man, we've both been on the road here lately. You a little more than me, but man, winter's coming, so it's going to slow down a little bit, I hope, right?
No. It'll slow down. Yeah, no, I mean, this is I've been looking back. This is actually my busy season. Last couple of years, just this is timing, and then they want to get everything out by December, right? So there's nothing doing in December. January is dead now because the Detroit Auto Show is not there, so there's no unveilings there. So this is like the crunch time to get everything out, get the marketplace, get the year wrapped up. Everything that got unveiled is going to be re-unveiled and driven and that kind of stuff. Right. Although I did kind of shoot myself in the foot, kind of literally here. I'm going to be gone all of 2 days of Nebraska deer season. I was like,
how are you going to get more blood in the back of a pickup truck, man?
I don't know, man. I was just like, oh no. And then I realized I'll be, just LA Auto Show is the same week as Nebraska deer season. And I'm like,
well, it sounds like Jill's going to LA and not you.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to go to LA. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So it's like, damn it.
Well, you got your partner in crime, Jill. She's about to hit the Rebel Rally, man. That sounds pretty exciting. This is what, year 2 for her?
Yeah, year 2 Rebel Rally. It starts Monday. She officially starts going off grid. She turns in her phones on Friday. She's a travel day. Then they get the Hyundai Santa Cruz. That's been modified. I got to remember. I may have to have her do another video. I can't remember all the modifications she's done to that so far, but I think it's got a lift on it. I think they put like a 1-inch lift on. I think they put a little more skid plates. I think they did some stuff to it. I know she has it wrapped, and so I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like when she gets it late. She kind of does more with it. But yeah, so she's gone off the next week and a half, which has pushed me to be on the road because we have a lot of stuff coming up. So yeah. What's funny is I was thinking about this every trip I've been on. So I was in California driving to Colorado, ZR2 Bison. That was gone at Dallas with you, and we were doing the show, and then I did the Tacoma stuff. But like every trip I've been on has gotten less and less and less in days. Like it's just like I leave Tuesday for Detroit. I'm back on Wednesday. So it's like it's getting less and less.
Well, the economy's crunching a little bit, so maybe manufacturers are like, you know what? Let's in and out. Let's get these people in and out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's interesting. So I just did the sales reports, and the midsize truck segment overall, since we're talking about midsize trucks, every truck was down.
I saw that, man. I watched your video on that yesterday.
Yeah, so it's a story in the bottom left of that little, I don't know what we call it there. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. The Ford Ranger was the one that really surprised me. And I think it's just because they're changing the plant over to build a new vehicle and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was
I know they were. 40%. Inside sources were telling me they were struggling, and I'll post this link over here, everybody, if you want to check out this his report on that. I know they were struggling, having some production issues getting the new truck going, is what inside sources were telling me. And then you throw that on top of the UAW doing their thing and kind of crunching that plant down for a while. Yeah, that's a mess, man, because people were excited, but Ford had momentum with that truck. And how does this now affect like a Ranger, especially because Ranger was on the cusp of being delivered? How do you think that's going to affect the momentum Ford had with that truck?
Well, here, scroll down because I want to scroll down through showing midsize and full size together in the chart, because I think it's interesting to see this. So when you look at the midsize trucks, look at the Ford Maverick though. The Maverick outsold the Ranger 3-1. Yeah, and so it's like, I think momentum for the Rangers and dead at this point. I mean, and what's interesting is the Colorado is all new and it was just up 4%. The Canyon is all new and it was down 1.9% or 1 point whatever percentage. So it's like no matter what, these brands coming out new vehicles and stuff, it's like, I don't know. It's interesting how it doesn't seem like it matters in a sales chart. And then you look at the UAW strike, like you mentioned, and these numbers are going to go down even further. I guess I was still shocked at the Tacoma numbers. I mean,
yes, for knowing a truck's coming and they're just like, we'll still buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I double checked my numbers, But look at the year to date, 100, almost 180,000. If they do that again, they have another 62,000 quarter. You know, they're pushing 250,000 units year to date.
Mhm.
You know, that beats was in full size. It beats a Tundra, beats a Titan for sure, and it comes close. They're going to be within, I don't know, 15,000 units of GMC Sierra full size truck.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the midsize truck segment is hot. What's funny is if you go back into the mid to early 90s, and if you look at truck sales numbers, it was Nissan and Toyota, and they both averaged well over 220,000 truck sales of their little trucks. So it makes sense that Toyota was able to carry that momentum. For some reason, Nissan, when they changed over to their Frontier, for some reason, if you look when they did that, it put a break on their sales. Like it cut their sales in half for some reason, but Toyota just kept on chugging.
Well, the Frontier was always the inexpensive option that was
Mhm.
naturally aspirated, that just would get bare bones, still roll up windows, and they always the price point was great. And then
Yeah.
they changed Frontier to compete better with the Tacoma. I mean, my God, you park up Frontier versus Tacoma, and both in those green colors, and it's like the similarities are all over the place. It's like Nissan was in the back of the classroom going, uh huh, uh huh, uh huh,
Oh,
uh
no, they
huh.
work. I have a photo. I can't show it, but I have a photo where Nissan Design Studio has a Tacoma in-house.
Oh yeah,
And I get it for them. You know, Nissan is in a tough place. I think the new Frontier is a great truck, by the way. I think, but they're in a weird place of they're playing catch up all the time for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because they're always broke. Can only focus on one thing at a time. And so they got to copy a lot. They're hoping to, well, you know, because the Titan was the same way. The Titan was just a copy of an F-150 and a Ram put together. It seemed like it didn't seem original like maybe that first generation was. And well, then you get what you have. But once again, I love that truck. It's the last of the naturally aspirated trucks, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's interesting. I had a guy get mad at me, and he was like, "Why is Ford only do turbocharged engines and trucks? We don't want those things. I'm not gonna." He goes, "I'm never gonna buy a midsize truck with a turbocharged engine." And so I was
Well,
like, "What do
you're
you
out of
plan on
luck.
buying?" Like it's like
Yeah,
at some point, it's all gonna go that direction.
I had some comments on my Tacoma video we dropped last week, and people were like, they were fussing, why is it got to be a 4 cylinder? Why can't it be a 6 cylinder? A lot of 6 cylinder comments, and I'm like, and you could get tired of talking like this, but it's like, guys, they got to lose cylinders, man. They're trying to create. There's a certain emission standard they have to reach to do that. You're losing cylinders. You know, look at Toyota. Hell, even in their little GR Corolla, it's a 3 cylinder making 300 horsepower, and I guarantee you, there's somebody out there going, "Well, why is it not a 4 cylinder?" I guarantee you, there's
Right.
somebody with that little sports car fussing
Well,
about that.
the Chevy Trax is a three-cylinder, 1.3 liter.
Yeah,
I mean,
The new
yeah,
Rogues are 3 cylinders.
well, so like I'm driving the Colorado ZR2 right now, and it's a was it 4 cylinder and that. I don't even care really 4 or 6 cylinder. I don't. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter to me anymore because once you go turbo, there's diminishing returns by adding more cylinders. Like I
Mhm.
remember talking to the some engine engineers about it, and I was like, well, why don't you guys just make it V6 turbos V6? They're like, there's not that many benefits to it. They're like, we don't get that much more horsepower and torque. And look at
Yeah.
the numbers. I mean, I was thinking about this. The 2023 Chevy Colorado horsepower and torque. I mean, so 310 horsepower, and that's for the higher output engine, and then
Mhm.
torque was like 400. Here we
It's
go.
up there, I know.
Yes. 430 foot-pounds of torque and 310 horsepower. That's right, because the Turbo Plus was 310 and 390. So
I
310
find though
horsepower.
the torque is always misleading though with turbos because there's an RPM band to the peak torque of that, and a lot of times it seems like I don't know if it's in front of you with the chart you have, but sometimes it seems like it's in this weird spot of the peak torque versus actually needed. Now, I will say with our Bronco that we have with the dual turbo system in it, man, it's definitely torquey low end. I mean, so I think maybe manufacturers understanding that more, but I remember in the early or the mid 80s when everybody started playing with turbos, and it seemed like your Suzus or your Mitsubishis were the ones leading the pack with that. Like the numbers were nuts, but if you looked at the peak torque, it was like at 8,000 RPM, or it was a very unusual spot for a torque band to be in.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. The torque band is such a critical piece of that. And you
Yes.
tend to get a more consistent and longer torque band with the turbo once you get the turbos engaged. So off the line, sometimes the natural aspirated engine will do better 'cause it doesn't have any turbo lag. But once you get past a certain point, the turbo just always overproduces that versus the natural aspirated engine. And I get the idea that turbos are more expensive to repair and it's more things to break. But from my aspect of it, when you have the better driving dynamics and you have the better horsepower and torque, you get better fuel economy. Like, yeah, there is some expensive things that break. Oh, geez. Sorry, we have a blue jay outside. I haven't seen a blue jay around here in years.
Welcome to Blue Jay Talk.
Yeah, I know blue jay talk. No, I mean, so when you get, what I tell people all the time is, forget about the cylinders, just go drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing that makes a big difference is transmission, how the transmission's set up. Will it shift and will it actually use that power band right? Or will you have to fight it? Do you have to put on sport mode? Do you have to do this and do that to get it to produce?
Well, part of my problem, like with the current situation with the Chevrolet and GMC, the Canyon in Colorado, is the old guy in me remembers when you used to get a 4-cylinder option, which was more economical version. And if you wanted a little more power, you got the V6. And I'm struggling with that truck, because now it's the option is you get one engine and tuning. We're going to play with tuning to limit what you can have.
Well, they made a change on that. Remember, the 2024 Colorado lost the mid tune. It's now,
yeah.
I mean, so like the tune was such, they only kept it around for 3 months.
Well, but the problem I struggle with that is, I feel like, for one, I think in my opinion, I still think those are the two of the top looking vehicles. I think they look great. I think outstanding. The insides could use just a little work, but I would own that truck. But my problem with it is, if you look at, they just did good enough for horsepower. Like the Nissan right now, the Frontier is 310 horsepower with a naturally aspirated V6. Now, granted, emissions, if that worries you, there's more emissions to that vehicle, but like 310 just became the standard, and that's the top that Nissan's going to offer. And what the new Toyota is, what, 340s, something like that for horsepower. It's pretty ridiculous what the new Tacoma can get. And I think what 330s, 320s with a normal 4-cylinder, and then you get the hybrid max, and it's on up there a little bit, if I remember right. And the new Ranger, you can get the 2.7 in it, which is 315 horsepower. And then I feel like the old guy in me, that's where it bothers me that GM has one engine and they're playing with tunings, and that's it.
I was thinking about this before. I was thinking about this maybe a couple days ago. I think there's several myths to this next generation of mid-size trucks. And what I want to say is myths in that what you thought from 1990s applying to today. So top myths, right? So the top myths are that a mid-size truck gets better fuel economy than a full-size truck.
Yeah.
That's not true. The smaller truck does not get better fuel economy than the bigger truck. You can get full-size truck.
Back in the day, they would.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's a myth, right?
Yeah.
The other myth is that four bangers are not very powerful. Well, that's a myth, because the old four bangers were not turbocharged. They were old engine technology. The new four bangers are a lot more powerful. They're a lot more horsepower and torque. The other myth was that mid-sized trucks were great little runabout trucks that you bought for fleets. Well, that's a myth, because the Ford Maverick's taken over that, and now the mid-sized truck segment is all about how much you can go off-roading, how fast you can go. Like the Chevrolet's entire lineup now is about off-roading, right? So I mean, there's a myth, right?
But they're also late to that game too. Let's be honest. They've sort of played. I know they had their ZR2 in the last generation, but they never marketed that truck really. They just sort of, we built it.
Yeah, they didn't really do much for it. Fans liked it and then did more. The fourth myth I would have is that a crew cab mid-sized truck is good for hauling 4 passengers.
Yeah. Oh, I know, because you did a story on this recently, right?
Yeah, no, it's not. Like the crew cab truck is so Dave and I are similar heights. So Dave and I could fit in the truck with 4 of us. They're all the same height. But people argue with me all the time about this stat. But if you look historically over the last 100 years, the average height of adult male has gone from like 5'5" to 5'10". So people are getting bigger and taller, but the mid-sized trucks aren't getting bigger or taller, right? And the fifth myth I would say is that mid-sized trucks come with a usable truck bed. They don't. Those beds are tiny. Like I put my golf clubs in my Colorado ZR2 bed today, and it's like, it is tiny. I mean, so yeah. And then the pricing, the Car Spotter points out, price a little too high in mid-sized units. Well, pricing, if you look at the price difference, a lot of people are like, well, why would I buy a mid-size when a full size is the same price? Well, the other myth there too is that a midsize truck customer shopping midsize versus full size. They just
Yeah.
don't. Midsize customer wants to fit in the garage, which is top. They want a smaller, more maneuverability. Want to be able to park in parking spots a little bit better. They want to drive a little smaller truck. They don't need the bigger truck. They don't like how big the big trucks have gotten. I mean, so the midsize truck customer, and the funny thing with midsize truck customers, they want more. They want more features, more luxury, more stuff. They want to get to what the full size has.
Is
I mean,
that
now.
because the sedan market's gone? So the midsize trucks sort of taken in the higher end sedan market, and I think people expect those features now in that vehicle.
I think a little bit of that, but also that customer base. So, like years ago, when the GMC Canyon Denali came out, which I thought was kind of just outrageously dumb to make a Denali version of a Canyon, I actually interviewed a guy who bought one. I actually found this guy through wherever, and so I call him and I'm talking to this guy about his GMC Canyon. Why did he buy the Denali? And my brother just literally bought a brand new GMC Canyon Denali, and so I know a thing or two about these people's buying habits. And he said to me, he goes, "No," he goes, "I'm a retired Marine. I'm buying one more truck. We do a lot of turkey shooting up in Pennsylvania, and do a lot of pheasant things, and not really pheasant, ducks and things like that." And he goes, "I want to be able to drive down the trail without scraping the sides of my truck. I want to park in my garage, and I want to be able to I want a smaller truck. He says, I'm getting older. I don't want to, steer this big boat of a full size truck around." And he goes, "My frustration with GMC at the time, and maybe still is he goes, I wanted more features. Like there's certain feet, I forget what the features were, but the features he wanted, he couldn't actually buy in the Canyon." He goes, "I'm not cross shopping Sierra and Canyon."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm buying the truck that fits in my garage so I can do the trails and things I talked about." And he goes, "I want those features, and I don't want a full size truck." My brother just bought a GMC Canyon Denali because he wanted to park in his garage.
Yeah.
He has full size trucks. He had a 3/4 ton truck. He has 1 ton trucks at work probably. So he just is like, "I sold my boat. I don't need the big truck anymore. I want to get back and forth to work. I want to be able to get in and and just cruise. And I don't want the big trucks that it can't fit my townhome garage." And
Well, I know
that
for
was his
me,
buying reasons.
you mentioned something that always hits for me is me and Kelly like to go off-roading quite a bit. And yeah, it's a trail issue because a lot of times the trails are cut just enough really for ATVs, basically a
Yeah.
lot of times. So it's already a tight situation where a full-size truck's not going to do that. Plus my driveway. I don't Kelly's got the garage where I can't park in it, but and I have some things in there as well. But I know for our driveway, we have a nice driveway. I can fit many vehicles up in there, but it gets tight. We had our full size when we bought this house, we had our full size Titan, and it was a pain in the ass when you had multiple vehicles in here and the Titan's kind of taking over half the parking area, and you're like, well, now I got to move this truck to get the car out. And
Yeah.
right currently in the driveway, we have a Mustang and a Bronco, and they're both mid-sized kind of style vehicles, and they fit perfectly in my driveway. I don't have to worry about when I go out there if I'm going to have to move a vehicle or any of that situation. So I can see for American audiences, definitely that's we want the luxuries of a big vehicle, just kind of in that smaller packages. Of course, for you with Jill, Jill always does those videos where it will fit in my garage. And I seen that she did the one with the Chevrolet recently, right? Because it's that yellow looking.
Yeah, she had a trail boss per park in the garage. She has supposed to upload the video. I'm supposed to edit it sometime when I have free time. But yeah, she does the stuff. She got typical Chicago garage, and it's a little frustrating for me in that it's a house she rents, and the other renter of the house has half the garage. She gets the other half,
Yeah.
and so not only does she have to park this thing in a garage, but she has to be very careful not to have the other car in the garage. Like she can't, it's not these videos aren't the easiest thing for her because of her neighbor.
Yeah,
And
neighbors
yeah,
suck. Hi,
yeah,
neighbors.
I don't know how she does it. Like renting a house in Chicago. I mean, I know why she rents, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I can't fathom living in a big city like that, wanting to do anything. Of course, me and you are a little bit more rural centric, so we're used to. I mean, my town's getting big. I'm outside of Nashville, but yeah, no, there's no way in hell I'd want to have to worry about, because I have a vehicle, Kelly has a vehicle. Generally, we have press loans in the driveway, so there's no way I could deal with that in a big city like Jill does.
Yeah, I mean, they live it on the street, and if she has anything, there was Tacoma. She had one time where it had those bins in the back,
Hmm.
and she went to bed and came out, and the bins were open. People were rifling through the trucks they're walking by. I'm just like,
Wow.
oh no.
Well, in the comments below, let us know where you at. For one, I did this the other day when I did this show. Is I'm curious your rankings. Give us your 1 through I believe it's 5 rankings of where you guys rank the midsize trucks. And be honest about it. If you don't hide your fact that I know there's a Nissan crew out there that don't like to brag about they like Nissan, but hey, if you like that Nissan Frontier, show it in number 1. But Tim, I'm curious. So I want to bring up this truck right here, and you should know this truck because we just spent time inside this truck, the Toyota Tacoma, and this is the Trail Hunter, which I somehow slipped in Trail Master in my video a few times, and people would not let that go. But and to beat on that a little bit, and I know you understand this, is sometimes you get limited amount of time with a vehicle. Your brain's going 100 miles an hour, things you should ask, and then just some goofy thing slips in. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
catch it, and you're like, well, just got to live with that one.
Yeah, it
But
happens all
this
the
truck,
time.
I was surprised in this truck. Now I know you were in Hawaii and got to go to the launch with it, but they weren't as ready as I think they're getting to be now. The Trail Hunter was I at first I didn't think it was a joke, but I just kind of was like, "Ah, that's such a niche truck that who's going to buy that?" Until I got to actually spend time in that truck, and then that changed my opinion of this truck quite a bit because for the off road guy in me, all the features you get in this truck are ridiculous. Now the snorkel I could live without. Um, but the interior features of this truck, it's comfortable. The seats look really nice in this truck. The seats I was very impressed with because I think that's one of Toyota's been one of their weaker points. I know you've commented many times about getting in and out of the truck, but overall, man, this truck was very impressive. And what were your opinions on it?
First of all, there's 7 mid-sized trucks, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
7,
don't
not
consider
5.
I don't consider the Maverick a midsize, nor do I
No,
consider Hyundai's.
no, that's 7. Let me go through this real fast. You
Oh,
have Tacoma, Colorado, Gladiator, Ridgeline,
oh,
Frontier,
Gladiator, yeah,
Canyon, Ranger.
yeah.
There's a
Hey,
lot of
man.
mid-sized trucks.
I hadn't had enough monster in me just yet to complete that list.
I tell people all the same thing is that when I hopped in the seat of the Trail Hunter and in the limited, I think I hopped in a limited first or an off road first, one of the two.
Mhm.
I just exhaled. I just like, oh, finally, I can get in and out easy. I can, I don't have to struggle to get my head around the A pillar. I had
Mhm.
nothing. It looks like it's more modern inside. I like the way that the interior looks. Everything fits. That that
Mhm.
that screen in this photo looks like it's 27 inches big. I can tell you in person, it is not that big,
Yeah.
right? No, it's
Yeah.
not even close. Just the way the photo comes out. Yeah, it totally just it's so much better in every aspect of it versus the old generation. And it's so because I had somebody ask me like, would you buy this or the prior generation? I was like, what are you talking about? Is that even a choice? Like I could understand it in the Tundra where the Tundra went from a V8 to the twin turbo V6. I
Mhm.
get that argument. I totally appreciate that. But in this case, this Tacoma is so much just night and day difference, just absolutely
Yeah.
night and day difference. And I thought it laid out pretty well. I can't wait to drive it. Driving, by the way, is next month. If people want to know, like end next month. So yeah, I can't wait to drive it. Can't wait to spend more time in it. I'm excited for this one.
Mhm.
I think that they did a lot of things right. They had to do certain things right, so they had to put the air dam on. Like it's like people always want to be like, why did Sheldon do the air dam? That chief engineer, he's a moron. No, he's got a boss too, and he was
Yeah.
told to put the air dam on. But when you ask Sheldon about the air dam, he's like, "It's 8 bolts." And we
Yeah.
made him easy access. I mean, because he's like, he's like, we made him easy access. We made 8 bolts. There it is. Like they were like, okay, we know it's hideous. We get the feedback. We have to do it. And so, but hey, we made it as easy as possible. To take it off.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the reality of it.
Well, the interior of this truck, well, I was pretty interested to see because the materials, it does this photo here doesn't show it as well, but the interesting materials, like the dash there where it says, see if I might, yeah, you can see my cursor.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
dash, this gray spot kind of reminded me of a countertop material. It was very strange, different plastic feeling. Seems like it's very durable. The way they've mixed in and everything, and that's something Toyota's done that I don't think any of the other manufacturers done in midsize they've just really made the interiors of their vehicle feel upscale. Now you're gonna pay this truck is not gonna be cheap by any means, and
Oh
I think
no,
we'll see
that's
the SR,
60.
SR5, you'll see it in a more base version. But if you were to compare this next to a, we'll say for a Chevrolet, the Z71, to me, there's no even night and day to it. This is so much different, so much I don't know, it's just exciting versus the Chevrolet offerings. The Nissan, like the Pro 4X they do is not bad, but it just felt modern when the truck came out, and now it suddenly is not starting to feel so modern. Ford knows their audience. I feel like Ford with the Ranger has kept their interiors more of the older crowd will like this because we don't want to spook them too much. You know what I mean? Like we're already putting an EV in their driveway as well. We don't want to like really freak them
Mm.
out. But Toyota knows they keep that young audience, the exciting, um, and there's little things they've copied. Like there's the little Molly panels that I don't think anybody would ever use that stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. But the off-road grab handle here that they've done, you've got up here, there were grab handles, which is nice, where a lot of trucks don't do that because of the way they do the airbags. Um, Overall, I think this is the most fresh looking interior of all the midsize trucks, Tim.
Yeah, I definitely I think it raised the bar. And typically Toyota is not one to raise the bar. They kind
Right.
of just do the what they can to keep the truck going. I think in this case they nailed it, and you could even tell Sheldon Brown's body language at the end of the day of talking to media. He knew he nailed it too. Like it was not even close. This is an interesting question that your fan Travel Aza brought up. He's got a 22 Frontier Pro 4X and wants to know is it worth trading that for the TRD Pro? Is it worth upgrading the Pro? And you've had, I mean, I've driven them both too. I
Mhm.
haven't driven the Tacoma yet, but I can tell you
Right.
that. And I said in the video, and somebody got mad at me. The Tacoma's going to drive really well, and people are like,
Mhm.
"You don't even know that. There's no driving impressions." I'm like, "No." I said Toyota has done small displacement V6 four cylinders and small displacement turbocharged engines for a long time. They've done V6s. Like they understand how to do that engine. Like
Yeah.
the Tundra, right? The Tundra 3.5, it's a well done engine, right? And it drives well. So I'm not worried about the driving impressions on that truck. I'm
I,
not. I'm
the
not.
usually when I buy vehicles, Tim, I don't even drive them anymore. Now, granted, me and you get to drive lots of vehicles, but in my opinion, I bought a Honda Element in 2005, brand new. I freaked the dealership out because I did it online. First vehicle I've ever fully done online. The guy I was out, he brought me the paperwork to sign and said, "I'll see you tonight to pick it up." He goes, "Don't you want to drive it before you leave?" I'm like, "No, they all vehicles drive good now." Like I've never found one that I'm like, "Man, this thing's just all over the road." Well, maybe Jeep, and I love Jeep, but that's
Yeah.
old technology. But to answer this question, at 22 Frontier Pro 4X, well, the problem you're going to have is finding a TRD Pro because for one, Toyota, I talked to Toyota about it. I talked to Greg and him about it over there. They are understand their dealerships for whatever reason like to upcharge everything. And I
Mhm.
think part of it is the quality that you're getting so people know, okay, it's Toyota quality. Their ordering situations, you can't just go spec a vehicle out how you want to buy it.
No.
They have a weird allocation system.
Yep.
So it enables dealerships to sort of take advantage of that. But if you were able to get one at MSRP, I mean, I don't know. It depends on, for one, financial situation. Are you able to? Trucks are going up, interest rates. If you bought that in 22, the odds are your interest rates were probably lower than they are now. Trust me, I have a Mustang out there that's almost tripled interest rate than what I bought my Gladiator for. It's ridiculous how interest rates are right now.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think
the,
that the performance of the Pro though is gonna be better, but it depends what you're doing. Like if you're just gonna
yeah.
drive it around town and flash it off, it won't matter. But I think the TRD Pro is gonna have a lot more capability.
Oh,
I think
100%.
it's gonna be faster off the line. It's gonna be faster in the desert. So if setting interest rates aside, which is a good viewpoint. If you're trying to do apples up comparison, I don't know how the Frontier could even stand up to the Tacoma with all the changes that Tacoma has done.
Oh, 100,
And
100%.
and I
And
mean, I like the Frontier, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, Nissan came out with something that matched the current generation Tacoma.
mhm.
Now the new Tacoma came out and just completely raised the bar again, and
I
Frontier
feel
Nissan's gonna be behind.
I feel like Nissan lost like their progressive engineers or something. I feel like they've for one, their current head of design, I think he's well past his prime. Every Nissan vehicle, I know manufacturers follow a kind of a design look,
Yeah.
but Nissan's is everything they've done here lately. And guys, I'm a Nissan fanboy, trust me, Tim knows. Um they're just so far behind in their design. They need to do what like Hyundai did many years ago, where they just brought in some young talent, just completely changed the name of the brand, and just gave them a new identity. And for one, I think it's time for Nissan to lose the burger logo as well. I think I was looking at that the other day on a tailgate versus like the Tacoma, and I'm like, man, people don't. Toyota almost hides Toyota now. It's more about the vehicle branding than it is Toyota, because people know what this is. You don't
Yeah.
need your logo huge. And it's something it's a problem I have with the Ranger too. The tailgate of the Ranger, where they have Ranger so big on that, I'm just like, you're just screaming at people, man. It's obnoxious, and I wish that would go away as well. But um, yeah, there's no way. Nissan has nothing to compete with this TRD Pro right here. There's nothing they have to compete with that vehicle, and I don't know honestly many that do. And we can look at the Ranger Raptor, which I have one on order. If I ever see it, who knows? But this thing is a little beast, and it's a good looking little beast. I love the Ranger, trust me, but the interior of this thing is nuts. Those red seats, Tim, I've yet to get to sit in those what do they call their seats they're putting in this thing?
Yeah, the TRD Pro seats, and I should have sat in Texas because the doors were open.
Mhm.
But apparently, to really experience me with go off-roading, I did a video on them because when I was looking at the black TRD Pro and the black Trail Hunter, there is no rear seat room in a TRD Pro in the crew cab because all the dials and adjustments for those performance off-road seats are behind the seats, and so like literally, I don't know how you're gonna fit four in a Tacoma TRD
Do
Pro.
you think those are optional, or is
You
that
know,
just a seat you get?
I've been asked that a couple times now, and I actually don't know. I would think, I would hope it's optional. However, they made such a big deal about those seats being in the TRD Pro.
Yeah.
I could see them being like not optional. I could see them being, a I don't know, a standard feature, I should say. So I can see that. You know what's interesting is I just looking at some photos of this Tacoma because this is coming up in my head. I wrote a story and I'm waiting for a response back. I may just publish it. But I'm sorry. If you go back to that page you're on, Dave, and go down to the gallery, and then just go all the way down, and then see full gallery. I want
Okay.
to pull up one particular photo. Um, Third row down. Get the trail hunter. It's right when it's right. Go down a little farther. A little. Yep, it's the one on the left on this row, all the way left. Pull that one up, all the way left.
Wait, this one, right?
Yeah, that one.
That's my right. Okay.
Or no, the other one. You're right. Yeah, those are the seats. There's no room behind. So keep going. Keep going. Okay, so that one. Go back. Jesus, gravity. I wish I.
The delay effect here.
So I guess maybe I could. I have a present button. Maybe I need to use it. This is new technology we're using. But no, go back one more. Go back to the front and look.
All right. This one here, the one we have been on.
No, hold on. I'll find it for you.
Oh, I see
Okay,
Tim sharing something
yeah,
now.
put mine in.
Yeah, hang with us here. We're trying to learn how to put two brains together here.
See the one I pulled up? Go down.
Oh, okay. Oh, the flex one.
Yeah, the flex one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Sorry.
here's my question for you, and this kind of got in my head a little bit because I was thinking about this. I recall the Tacoma having tow hooks in the front, but man, are they hard to see. And I'm looking at this photo, and if you look at the skid plate and
Mhm.
just go left of the skid plate, you can see this black ring. And if
Right
you
here?
just got to look really close. No, it's down below. It's yeah, right there. If you really got to zoom in, like in to find this thing. And
Hmm.
I was thinking about this because the questions come up on when I did the chief engineer for the Tundra. People were like, "How could you not ask about tow hooks?" And I'm like,
Oh
there's
God.
nothing to do about that. I mean, because the design, you're talking about re-engineering the front end, taking off the front grille, removing the aerodynamic completely, and then you got to get past the safety problems they have with those tow hooks. So if you don't recall, Toyota is a very conservative company and very safety driven. So the engineers for the Tundra had to get those tow hooks to have a front end collision and not move a millimeter. Well, they can't do it, so they had to take them off. But look at this trail
You
hunter.
have
Look,
that's your on the screen. So if you need to move anything around.
oh, okay. So So that, I mean, that is, so I guess when I zoomed in, I don't know if it shows up I zoom in, but I can kind of see right where my cursor's. I don't know if you can see my cursor. I'm gonna keep trying to zoom in, but it's like I think it's right there.
Yeah, I see it. It
I think,
looks.
yeah. And so, I mean, so a couple things. First of all, if you look at the current lineup of Toyota vehicles, they're anti tow hooks. The Hilux has no tow hooks. That's a global midsize truck. The Land Cruiser has no tow hooks. The LX 600 has no tow hooks. The Tundra has no front tow hooks. And now the Tacoma has these tow hooks that are like in behind things, it looks like, or at least a recovery point, at least some circle to hook onto. On the back, they have the ARB bumper with two big recovery hooks in the back, but on the
Well,
front,
so
it's interesting.
here's a photo that I have. This is the most close up photo I have of that, and yeah, it's you cannot you
Yeah,
cannot
so,
find
well,
anything
and
there.
I wonder, I wonder why there's no outcry about Tacoma tow hooks, because I can't see anything there,
Right
and
there, it's right
yeah.
there.
Okay. But think about if you're like this inverted like in Moab and you're trying to pull your truck this way,
Mhm.
you're gonna cause damage to your front bumper, by having the strap on there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna pull against all that because this is all plastic, so you're gonna pull right against all that. The front end's buried in mud,
Right.
and I'm not going scuba diving trying to figure out,
Yeah. And so Andrew says the tow hooks and the Ranger, Chevy, and GM are all accessible. I don't believe Toyota when they say that, because Ford, Chevy, and GMC don't have problems with their tow hooks. You're absolutely right. They do not have problems with tow hooks because it's a completely different company.
Mhm.
Completely different company, right? So the safety culture at Toyota rules, legal rules, right? So I mean, there's certain things that the engineers are like they want to do, but they cannot do. Now in the Chevy, Ford, GMC world, it's a whole different culture. It's a whole different atmosphere. I mean, remember, Toyota is still a very Japanese driven company, and they're
Yes.
very conservative. And they can put safety above everything else. So, yeah, it's one of it's not it's a very different company culture. You can't compare Ford and Chevy and GMC's safety ideas with Toyota safety ideas. The other thing too is Toyota does not update their trucks except for once every 7 years, and
Yeah.
so they have to make sure safety is so pivotal because they just don't make any changes. And
Well,
then, yeah,
so one thing I was amazed by, of course, this is a link suspension in the rear of this, which people have been asking for forever. I had comments, people going, "Why don't they just use leaf springs?" And I'm like, man, like these companies cannot make everybody happy. Like
uh-uh.
people are so mad about that. But the thing for off-roading that I noticed with this truck and nobody picked up on was the exhaust. Look where it dumps out. It's in front of the axle. So they've thought well enough about off-roading with this truck, which I made an American comment and somebody wanted to fight about it. But they do. The Toyota's picked up on off-roading the way what Americans want. They've allowed Toyota USA to literally get to have more of a hands-on with these trucks than they ever have in the past. And the chief engineer, Tim, that you've bragged about, like he knows off-roading. He knows what they're doing with these trucks. And for them to dump the exhaust out the front, for one, I don't know about how that I don't know the how that does it, I have an offered exhaust on my Bronco, and sometimes you can smell it in the cab a little bit because of the way it dumps out, but I don't know how that works with this truck. But I thought this was brilliant how they've just thought of everything with the Trail Hunter. They really have, except for tow hooks.
Yeah, and well, Sheldon built that. He went then Overland Expo West. He watched some bunch of videos on YouTube. He went on the forums. I mean, he really invested his time learning the customer. So I think that's why he built it to that degree. But I remember the Colorado ZR2 when it first came out. We were crushing the exhaust tips like crazy. We pancaked them
Yeah.
all the time. And
Well, Toyota normally has them kick out the sides there
yeah,
at the rear bumpers, and yeah, no, they were great. And I don't want to just continue to praise Toyota here. I do want to talk about some other brands, but to kind of wrap up on here, there's the Araby tow hooks on the rear.
yep.
They did offer something.
Now hold on a minute. My God, Dave, how many photos did you take of this truck?
A lot, Tim, a lot.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the very profound. But this is interesting to me. So when you're in a recovery situation, like a lot of brands are putting like tow hooks and things on the rear of the vehicle,
Hmm.
and I guess you can get around and pull out the rear. I don't know if that's in your experience, because I know you've done
Yeah,
the trails
I
more than I have. Are you recovering from the front or recovering from the rear?
Well, I've done both because we were at Windrock Park a couple weeks ago, and we had our Jeep friends were with us, and they just drug on their differential, and we could have got them out without recovery, but it was like, why tear up the vehicle? We'll just safely do it this way. Hooked up to the back of the Bronco and just pulled them forward, and we were fine with it.
Yeah.
So having options in the front would be, better options would be great as well, because there's been times where I've had to use a high lift jack, and you hook it up to a snatch rope one end, and you're sitting there jacking, trying to, because there was no winch on the front of that vehicle. I've done a lot of recoveries, but having better options in the front of this truck would have been a little nicer. But Tim, I was very impressed with talking to Toyota about this truck, was the fact that the way ARB wanted to be a part of this. Now, the suspension, the old man Emu suspension, is all owned by ARB, so it's very much one company kind of went through this vehicle besides Rigid. But the fact that major off-road companies know Toyota is, when anything they do is going to be high end, they know it's not just cheap. There's no fitment issues a lot of times with Toyota. That they wanted to stamp their name on this, and not just stamp their name. They're building these parts. They design these parts.
Yeah, I think a couple things are interesting. So Toyota has partnered with ARB. GM has partnered with AEV, right, American Expedition Vehicles, and they've done a lot of that stuff. And they have Multimatic as a partners too. And you're finding brands now that are embracing this stuff. So like the Ram TRX has Bilstein. They actually asked Bilstein to put their name on the shock for the rear, so it stands out as Bilstein shock. So the OEMs are like really embracing the aftermarket right now, which I think is really smart. But I always chuckle because, you'll do a video on, hey, this ARB thing or whatever, bumper, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, doesn't that void the warranty? I'm like, well,
They are the warranty.
They are the warranty. I mean, they're, no, it does, obviously, because if ARB can put it on the truck, it doesn't void the warranty. Guess what? I'm pretty sure you're okay. Oh, you got
Yes.
$12.34. Look at that.
Oh, thank you, YouTube Car Spotters Guide, for that super chat.
Yeah, I get happy. Right?
And believe it or not, even on Tim's channel, guys, those do help the channels. Believe it or not, the simple little donation like that will help. And I know Tim doesn't like to mention memberships and stuff, but trust me,
no, I need to.
They help the channel.
Yeah, if you don't know, I just changed the membership levels, so they're a lot more accessible. I realized my levels were pretty insane. Which, by the way, there's a $14.99 membership a month, and literally, I'm giving away hats with that. So if you want a hat, if you want a branded hat, or if you want a pickup truck hat, I got like 15 of these things. So if you want a hat, I'm giving away hats. And then I thought about this, Dave. So this is my thought for you. I thought maybe once a month I should be giving away something, because at these events I always get stuff, right? And I don't know to do this stuff. I can put on my shelf and it keeps adding to my shelf collection. But so I have this. This is a ZR2. It's a stand. It's got a tire and cactus. And then this on the outside set, those lines, that is actually a topographical map of Chevrolet's proving ground roads. So that's the proving grounds. That's the track they have, and it has ZR2 performance on the top. And so I have this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I got to figure out how or what or who, what, when, where, why the audience would want something like this, and how to give it away, because I literally have all this stuff. I mean,
the way to do that, Tim, is on one of your live streams, you have the top donation to that live stream gets the little item of the month. I think that would be fun, because I actually, honestly, I'm a little jealous that you have that, because I have, like, well, you have a background as well, but yeah, that's pretty rad, man.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, and so I was able to bring it home so it doesn't have any damage to it. But yeah, it is. I don't want, somebody says that is cool, Tim, bid on it. I don't want to auction stuff off, because I think that's bad.
Yeah,
but I don't. I mean, I have shelves of this stuff. Oh God.
I like the pistons, the old Titan pistons you have.
Yeah, this is this is the one this is the one that somebody should want. This is the Carbon Pro material. That's in the Sierra, the new Carbon Pro. So this is what they're.
Oh, wow.
It's like you literally have a side cross section of this thing, has a date on it, has where I was at that time.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The pistons are cool. Oh, I always get this other stuff too. Like
Here's
really,
Auction
Dave,
Nation.
what am I going to do with a big text head? I don't need this thing at all, right? So I'm like, I don't. What am I? I have a hat and a big text head. I mean, I don't
Did
know.
Toyota give you that?
No, this was the you. Did you go to the booth at the state fair for media check-in?
No.
Yeah, this is what you got. You got this and a hat.
I that's crazy. No,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
no,
mean,
I get Cub. Like
I like the hat, but I
yeah.
don't have any. Let me do that.
Yeah, I should have checked in, I guess. No, I just went right to recording videos.
Yeah, no, I got. What else I got? I got. Anyways, I probably got more stuff sitting around here, but
I am
I would.
amazed we did that press event, and then Jeep had a little goodie bag, of all Jeep related things, and I'm like, Kelly's like, "Do you want a goodie bag?" And I was like, Not really. Like, I have T-shirts, and I only do a quarter of what you get to do." And I'm just like, I don't need any. Some of these
Well,
press events you could not dress for. You could just wear the clothes you have, and they probably would somehow have branded pants.
I know. There's sometimes some stuff I guess really cool. Some stuff it's like, but
Those
there's a time
Remember
where
those pink pants, Tim, that have pink on the butt? Maybe GMC would do something like that.
well, it used to be that truck rodeo we used to go to. You had to take a second suitcase for all the crap we'd get.
That's ridiculous. Back back to mid-sized trucks though. We hit on this a little bit. The Frontier, I think it's a damn good truck. I think that look, you can see tow hooks, Tim. Um,
I think that going back to Trail Hunter, I think somebody said they need to paint the tow hooks red to make them be able to see them.
Jeep nailed
I
that.
totally agree. I mean, tow hooks can kind of blend in, make them red.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
Jeep, you remember, like, used to everybody hid their tow hooks. They didn't want them.
Yeah,
They didn't want people knowing it was it was a dirty truck. And Jeep for some reason picked up on this. Like, no, let's highlight everything. And then now every brand has to highlight their tow hooks.
yeah, and I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah,
at least you can see them. Like literally, I was looking around at Tacoma trying to find the tow hooks. And I was zooming in. I was like in Photoshop, like blowing it up and putting more pixels and trying to find these damn things. Because again, the thing is like in person, when you see these vehicles in person first time, you have so many thoughts in your mind,
mhm,
right? So and you make mistakes like Trail Master and things. But there's pieces that you forget about. You forget to check for like a tow hook. You forget to check about do they have a spare tire? Oh, I forget about that stuff half the time. So it's like those are
mhm.
things that you don't think about where you're shooting this stuff.
I know
Whereas
it has a
you
spare
should.
tire, Tim, because I shot 400 photos underneath
I
that
was gonna
truck.
say I was impressed by your photo collection. I'm damn impressed by that. I've been taking more photos lately. I've been doing a better job. I go through. I think I've been doing this. I looked up the other day. I've been doing this 12 years, and I think you go through spans where I know for myself where there's times where I'll do a really good job, and there's other times where I'm just like, blah.
Yeah.
Like it's like the other day I was driving that GMC Canyon AT4X home or to the
Mhm.
airport, and I didn't have video done, so I pulled over and did a video outside. And literally on the side of the road, it's this pull off spot. I'm doing this video, this walk around, and because I had driven that truck, I think it was like third or fourth time I've driven that truck, so I knew it pretty well, and it was easy to do. So I had the Colorado ZR2 this week. I'll do the same thing. When I got the Frontier, remember the Frontier was weird because they changed the engine in one model year, and
Yes, I was
then
at the press release.
they changed the engine, and then the following year they changed the entire the new exterior, new interior. Was
Yeah,
it following
they
year 2
lost
years?
the 4-liter and went to that 4 or 3.8
Right.
in the truck, and they put a new shifter in it, and that was basically it, and a push start. Yeah, it was the weirdest. I've got photos somewhere of me at that press conference, and I was just like, "Wow, this was real exciting."
Yeah, like I guess the new Frontier wasn't ready at that moment, and they needed to get the engine out because the suppliers were discontinuing the four cylinder, and they wanted to
Yeah, I don't.
transition to the new 3.8.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sense I got was it three? Is it 3.8? I think it's 3.8. It's a
Mhm.
big
Yeah,
displacement in
it's a
that.
3.8.
I think that they were the supplier was getting ready to change over, and Nissan wasn't ready because they had
Well,
gone
I know
through so much turmoil.
they had a race truck built ready to go that they wanted to kinda showcase, and 4 months before the Chicago Auto Show, my buddy was like, Nope, it's gonna stay in storage. We can't do anything with it because they're not ready to launch it. And I was like,
Yeah,
come on, guys.
it's so
But
weird.
this is a good looking truck. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously digital rendering, but I really do. I have to beat them up. Get rid of this burger. It's nobody cares, man. Like, get rid of the stupid stamped in the plastic Frontier thing. It just takes away. It just looks like they were throwing darts and hoping something made somebody want to buy this vehicle. I think the old school script of Nissan, much like Toyota does, with their off-road products, make it different from the base models. And they don't do that enough with like Pro 4X, in my opinion. You get some wheels, yes, you get a slightly taller truck, but really, other than the rear locker, it's not much different than a fully loaded SV.
yeah. I mean, the Pro 4X has always been a kind of a weird one for me. It's like they could just
I
do
know
so
we've
much
battled
more.
about this. I
Well,
like
because
the name, and you don't like the name.
also the packaging. I mean, the TRD Pro has done so much beyond. The Colorado ZR2 is so much different than the base truck. The
Yep.
Bison is even more different than that, and it's like I think with the Pro 4X, there's room to have another grade above the Pro 4X for Frontier for Nissan. Even
Yeah.
even more capable. Give me a front locker. Give me bigger tires. Give me the rear steel bumpers from AEV or something. Like
Mhm.
who's Nissan's partner? I think moving forward, I think we're going to start seeing that more and more. Like it's going to be who's your big partner here? Who's your supplier? Who's the one you're going to talk about? You're talking about Bilstein. You're talking about Fox. I mean, who's going to
Yeah.
be? Because these brands are, again, the top three trucks, as far as sales, Tacoma, Colorado, and even the Canyons from the mix, they've all partnered with a brand. And I
Well,
think
they
that,
have Bilstein's shocks on this, but they don't really brag about it much. No, Nissan's problem is Nismo. They want to do everything in house. They want to do it themselves. And for one, Nismo for cars, people know what that means. They know, oh, that's high performance, cool. The Z with trucks, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. And but I think of that the same way of TRD. I think of that for trucks for some reason. And when I see a Camry with a TRD Camry, I'm just like, this is dumb to me. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't equate. But overall, this truck is probably the best value out of all midsize trucks, really, right?
it has been historically, and I think that's one of the problems with sales. They need to cut the price a little bit,
Yeah.
and to be a little more competitive. Did you see at the State Fair, Texas, the Nismo version of the Frontier, like the Frontier with a bunch of Nismo stuff on it? Like they had a Nismo roof rack and Nismo tent. I don't know if you walked over there at all.
I think I've
Yeah,
seen it before. I know which one you're talking
yeah,
about.
they're a really small booth, and I was just like, okay, that makes sense. We're trying to push Nismo, but Nismo and trucks don't make sense to me. It just doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, I like it. I think again, the Frontier used to be the value leader, and I think they're not the value leader anymore. And so they're trying to compete and be apples to apples, and they just need to take. I think if they took the Pro 4X to another level and then really got a hold of some suppliers and really beat the drum with them, I think it would stand out more. And somebody said, I'm sure for a first truck, the Frontier looks good, but the infotainment camera system seemed ancient compared to what everyone else 2024. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, I mean they. I think Nissan did this thing where they looked at the Tacoma sales leader and they built a really strong competitor to the Tacoma using whatever technology they had at that time, but now it's not aging well.
Right.
There's certain in this business, there's certain trucks and certain vehicles that just don't age well, right? They come out, it's like ta-da, and you're like, it just doesn't age well. I mean, the
Yes.
hard
And
body, I don't know.
this was now this is low hanging fruit for the brand. Let's
Yeah,
be honest. It's sticker package plus some wheels, really. But I will say at least they're trying something out of the box. It was funny when you seen this photo of this truck next to
I
how
know.
much bigger it was next to the hard body was. I don't know that I wanted to highlight that part of it, but
I was actually
it's
talking to the Nissan folks, and I said, actually, I like the hard body to the the old hard body versus the new hard body. I was like, actually, I think the old hard body size, if they just make that a little bit smaller, there's their
mhm.
compact truck competitor.
Well, you know what? For Nissan, the hard body was so unique looking versus everything else. The S10 of the time was, kind of felt big and pig like. It was for a small truck. They came from the Love, where Isuzu built the Love for them, and then they finally could design their own. I don't know. It just felt big. The hard bodies felt so nimble. And
Mm.
man, my sister had one of these, and you could get 30 miles a gallon in this little truck. It was ridiculous because they didn't weigh anything.
I know. Yeah.
And sadly, those days are gone. But the display they had there at the State Fair of Texas was pretty nice. They do seem to like to reuse those containers, but
Mm.
you got no
Yeah.
money. It's hard to be original. But I was excited to see this, that Nissan was the kind of the hard body package. Now the cost of that was, I think that's what's going to kill that truck instantly. Nobody wants to pay. I think it's a $6,000 or 4,000. One of for that package, and you're basically getting wheels.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
I don't. Again, nothing really stands out to me with that. I'm just
yeah.
looking. There's an interesting question in the comments. Somebody want to know about anything for the 2024 Honda Ridgeline, and that was an interesting
Talk about
question, and I want to get to that because I haven't seen any news yet. I've only seen the
it.
2023 news, and then I'm scrolling back through Honda's newsroom. I'm trying to figure out when that new generation of Honda Ridgeline came out, and all new
Been out several
2017.
years.
So it debuted in 2016, June 20th, 2016. I think is when the press release came out. So it came out as a 2017 model, and the 2021 they made some changes to it. I think is that when I think that's when the HPD package came out.
Yeah, it's right around COVID when this
So
package
20 so
came out.
2020. So if you do 2016, 2020, and now it's 2023. So typically, vehicles go 7-year cycles. So you
Mhm.
do half that cycle. So would be a mid-cycle refresh, which is what they did for the 2021 model year. And so you have 16 to 20 is 4, 20 to 23 is 7. So yeah, I actually let me clarify this. Nothing new in the 2024 Ridgeline. There's nothing. I haven't seen anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at the numbers thinking there's going to be something. And Fubar Medic says they won't bring the new platform until 2025 for the Ridgeline. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in that range so it's pretty late in the game right now to have anything for 2024 new.
Do
And
you think they
typically,
ever go body on frame with this? That they just throw in
no,
the
no.
or do you think it's just Honda's nature of like, no, we like niche markets. We're okay here.
No, I think the Honda Ridgeline sells pretty decent for them. It's 11, 12,000
Yeah, and
units.
this
And they can,
second gen has picked up the sales. Like the
well,
first gen
and
had an audience, but this one's more. I see a lot more around.
yeah, and this can be built in the same production facility to build the Pilot and
Mhm.
so the costs are so much easier for this. Doing the body on frame for them would be horrendously expensive.
Right.
Yeah, no, people always want to pick on me and say, well, you got the Ridgeline, I'm like, the Ridgeline drives pretty damn good in off-road situations. That unibody construction is to its
Mhm.
benefit. Like if you've ever gone down washboards with each of the midsize trucks, the Ridgeline actually holds its ground. The problem with the Ridgeline that I found is that it's just not a very the audience is older for it. I think it's a very
Yes.
older audience, and there's nothing about the interior that speaks to a younger customer.
Are you
Even
saying the audience is not doing this? Are you telling me,
yeah.
Tim, the audience for this truck is not out
No.
there having fun?
Mm-mm. I mean,
My
it
whole life,
can,
so I know.
but yeah, I don't think it's going to. So
I
yeah,
will say this thing, it's a good looking vehicle. You
yeah,
know, I like they made it look like a body on frame because they did split it a little bit, kind of gave it that more truck vibe. Um, but no, if this was, I'll be honest, because I like Honda. If this was actually a body on frame vehicle, I might be tempted more to lean that way. Now I know there's a practical reason for this, safety and fuel economy,
and
but
building it. I mean, production
yeah,
wise, because Honda doesn't build a body on frame in the United States, right?
they don't
The
do
pilots
anything,
they
do
use
they?
body, right?
The only framing that I know of them is a motorcycle.
Yeah, and the pilot's their biggest one, and the
Yeah.
CRV is ain't a body. So
I mean, initially the Pilot, of course, it was just an Isuzu. That was a framed vehicle, but they weren't building that. They were just it was a rebadged Isuzu. So
yeah,
yeah, no, I don't know of anything they've done in quite a
yeah.
while. So all
So
right, so
it's
for
yeah.
I've been picked on about the Ridgeline being a truck. Okay, so that was one of the sevens, Tim. Um,
I mean, it
here's
technically
something
is. It's a mid-sized truck competitor. It really
I
is.
know, I know. Here is something you spent some time in recently, the Colorados.
I have one
And
outside.
yeah, and I was picking on it a little bit about I don't think it outside. I think this is amazing looking truck. I love, and it's the first time I've loved a while some of GM's designs because the old '90s 1500s. I love those, and then they kind of in the 2000s they back and forth the look. I love this design of this thing, but once again, the dumbly or stupidly or not, that the motor options is the one thing that would keep me from buying this vehicle. You recently too, you've got to play around with the bigger tires. I don't know if you driving impressions or anything on that, but you've gotten some time in all of their range of trucks, and you'd be the best guy to talk to about these.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, the platform I think is pretty solid. I think that what they're aiming for was pretty solid. It's definitely an off-road vehicle. That's what it's made for.
Mhm.
And so my only issues are I've had a lot of technology issues with that truck. Like it keeps like it doesn't want to use the map so well. I had to like do some weird things that keeps like the dash froze like on TFL Andre's
Yeah.
truck. Then he had a dead battery issue. My brothers had dead battery issues. It's been a common thing in the forums. I mean, so it's like I want to really like this truck, but there's the infotainment system and the software is just causing me fits. It
Is that
doesn't.
part of the problem is, Ford threw in the towel a long time ago and just hired Microsoft basically to do their sync system. Is part of that the problem is, GM's they're trying to bring this in-house.
No,
Is this a growing pain from doing
that's a
that?
Google operating system.
No, but it's based around what I read a story on this recently. It is, but it isn't. It's a lot of GM in-house.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's part of that too. I mean, there's they don't the thing was like I was making the point the other day is GM is really good at building vehicles, and building vehicles is really tough to do.
Mhm.
But they don't have the best coders and the best software. They use a lot of vendors to help out with software
Yeah.
needs, and that I mean, it's like everybody talks about people come over and talk about trucks and things that they're like, why did they do this in the vehicle? And I'm like, well, sometimes that's all the supplier has to choose from. Like, what do you mean supplier? I'm like, these trucks, if you read the fine print or read any press release, it'll say this truck is assembled. All the trucks say assembled. You know why? Because they're not building a vehicle from the ground up at these factories. They're
Yeah.
getting suppliers who send them parts, and they just assemble the parts together. It's like a gigantic IKEA with a kit, right, with instructions, right? That's what the
Yeah, the
production line is. I mean, the production
what
line
the
is
motor and stamping is about the only thing they actually physically
yeah.
do.
And some brands like Ram, they get their transmissions from ZF, and the
Yeah.
frames. And so if you ever go to a truck plant, outside the truck plant is a bunch of rail cars usually that are they're full of frames. So the
Mhm.
frames come in from supplier. The engine transmission comes in from either the engine transmission plant or another supplier, and then there's a stamping plant usually nearby the production facility that they do paint and they do stamping, and or they'll paint it afterwards, depending on how they're assembling it. And then the line goes, and it's just basically here's parts to install that are from a supplier or from a tier one supplier, tier two, tier three
Yeah.
supplier, and they put them together. And that's why those brands talk about the fact it's like, for the Tundra, for example, has got a seat cracking issue. He's like, well, I got to find the supplier. I got to validate the supplier's going to build a part even better. I can't change the design because the designers want it this way. And then I got
Yep.
to take it to the plant and I got to build a tool to put it on.
Yeah.
Well, these guys don't have like a half inch socket with like 3/8 on the end of it, right? these are specialty tools. You worked in a plant, these are
Mhm.
specialty tools that are built for. I mean, so yeah,
I
they have.
had I had an impact that was made. It had one size on it. You didn't change anything out other than a battery, and that it was made for one particular thing, one job, and that was it.
Yeah,
I will say Nissan was different with that because I've noticed that with the big three, how they have to bring their frames in and all this stuff. Nissan had Dana on site that was building frames here in Smyrna,
right.
and I mean, it was a whole different building, but it was on the campus, and so they kept their stuff a little closer to home. But no, I am amazed that yeah, sometimes you see like frames have to be railed in. I'm like, why? Or they stamp them. GM's big on stamping them somewhere else, and you're like in the Nissan, maybe it's how Nissan can make money is doing it this way, but we had stamping in Smyrna plant. You had manufacturing like
Yeah.
it was all now dashes that were put together inside the plant too by a tier two company. But yeah, no, I was amazed at how, and I'm sure Toyota is similar with some of that.
Yeah, Toyota's campus in San Antonio is all self-contained as best it can. They actually bring
Yeah.
suppliers on site. They who was spraying the bed liner? They had one of the spraying bed liner companies actually set up a booth inside the plant. So
Right.
it's like they've really done that. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to work out. Evan says GM plans to get rid of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Seems like a poor idea. They're starting that on the Blazer EV. They're trying to see if the EV crowd will go for it. I don't think it's going to do really well. I think the marketing guy is foolish, and he's getting a lot of heat. And I think that's a reverse decision there because that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are typically better than the infotainment systems in these trucks, and people
Right.
are just more used to those systems. And so, like,
But they're
why not?
paying a licensing fee to use those too,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
that's part of the deal.
Well, the other thing too is if they can get you on their systems, then you're a subscriber now on their systems, and they're
Mhm.
gonna make money off you. Like, they're gonna charge you for. But the one I think is egregious is GM Super Cruise and Ford Blue Cruise, the self driving technology. People are like, oh my gosh, this truck's got self driving. I'm like, no, it's got semi-autonomous driving that you're going to pay for monthly.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
for 90 days, and then you pay for it.
Yeah, you pay for a monthly fee for the truck to sort of drive itself.
Right. I don't need loot boxes, man. My son used to do that with gaming. I don't need loot boxes for my vehicle. No,
Yeah,
Tim, you were saying manufacturing is hard for any of these guys, but I think it shows that the technology is harder. And I think that's where companies like Tesla and obviously the Cybertrucks coming up. I don't know what you consider that thing midsize,
it's a heavy duty.
but
No,
size wise, I think it's somewhat similar to a
it
midsize.
like weighs like 8,000 pounds. Like it's a heavy duty
Oh
truck.
yeah, I know it weighs a ton, but I'm just saying, like, I think the size of the vehicle, it's somewhere in between a midsize and full size. It's not either.
I don't think
But I think that's where companies like Tesla do well is they can learn manufacturing, and there's 100 years history that they can learn of mistakes that GM and everybody's made, how to fix that. But they know technology. They know, that's one of the appeals to a Tesla is it works perfectly. When I don't hear of people complaining about the tech actually not failing and all that. And so maybe
Yeah,
that's where
I hear some.
manufacturing now need to get, Apple wants to get in the car business so bad. And, maybe somebody like a Nissan takes a chance with them and just like, okay, develop the software and we'll just build the damn thing.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, software exists, so why recreating? Recreating the wheel.
Right.
Don't rebuild the wheel. Just go with it.
Right.
But it's going to be money. Money's going to be the biggest problem.
Right. So Tim, you did time in this truck. Now I've done a little
Last week.
time in the Chevrolet version of this, but this is a bad mama, man. I love the AT4X of this thing.
What's interesting is that the bull bar in the front, I've never
Mhm.
seen it in any sort of on the floor anywhere. I've only seen it fit. I've never seen it in person. I don't think.
I don't like that part of it, but I think the AT4X, man, I love that GMC finally was stepping it up because I did a review of a 22 a couple weeks ago, Elevation, and the interior of this thing was just plain boring. And finally, with this next generation, they're trying to make it more of GMC. Let's go into that higher brand. And where are you at with this truck? Did you feel like when you were riding around in this truck, like it felt like a high end vehicle, or was it just like it just feels overly priced?
I mean, to me, it feels more upscale than the Colorado, and that's on purpose.
Yes.
And I'm seeing a lot of more people buying GMC versus Chevrolet right now. GMC's have stuck to their plan to make GMC a premium brand, and a lot of people just are like, if you're going to spend the money and you're going to buy one new one new midsize truck, one truck in your life, you want to buy the most luxurious one you can find. It does feel
Yeah.
differently. The AT4X is pretty cool. Even with those bigger tires, I don't have a problem with horsepower. Somebody's saying that the Colorado ZR2 needs horsepower, and the Bison, I didn't have a problem with that at all. I don't know. I mean, to each their own. I mean, we always want more power. That's the cool part with turbocharged engines is that you should be able to tune this pretty easily to get more horsepower and torque out of it. Just because you just got to tune the turbo.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's more horsepower to unlock pretty easily. I'm sure tuners are going to be all over that stuff. But my issue is I can't get in the damn thing.
Is it because it's too tall, or?
Yeah, it's just too tall. Like Jill and I were doing a press drive in Asheville about this, and I just got tired of it. Like I have the Colorado right now, is ZR2 outside. And like I
Mhm.
literally just want to park it and drive my Silverado because I have running boards. I can get in and out of it. Like the rock rails are cool. I give you that. But
Yeah.
you can't stand on rock rails. And
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of it.
Well,
I don't
some of
know.
that is, the crash testing. They have to, they want to put all this cool off-road stuff on this, but then it comes down to safety.
Yeah.
And now, where you could have made these a true step, kind of like what I have on my Bronco, which is more of a step. I'm sure well, no, it has to be tucked in because there's a pedestrian that might bump his knee into something. Like there's so many things that these poor manufacturers are so strapped like they can't do that. If people think that they're always like, well, they didn't do enough, they didn't do enough. Do you not think that they wouldn't love to do an ultimate
Oh my
like
goodness.
Mad Max truck or EV version of that? Trust me, they would, but they're
Oh,
so restricted.
yeah, I mean, they all got bosses, right? You have
Yep.
price points. You have suppliers can build so much. Like that Tundra Limited 1794 edition. They only building 1,500 of those things because not 1794 like they probably should have. It's fun to
Yep.
make one of 1794. And he's like, he goes, you think 294 trucks wouldn't be that hard to do? But he goes, it's impossible. Like I can't get the parts. He goes, I can't get the supplier to give that much stuff in that point to get on delivery on time. And so that's what I'm saying. Production can be really hard. I think
Yeah.
the Canyon really is great. The problem with the Canyon the Canyon comes with a 1-inch lift throughout the lineup, if I recall
Mhm.
correctly. I think so. The Colorado Z71 is my perfect spot because I can get in and out of it easier.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean that I know I'm beating a dead horse. I know I'm short. I get it, but I want to be able to get in and out of your vehicle, and I want to have a comfortable seat. Like those
Yeah.
are my two main criteria.
I don't need rappelling gear to get in and out of a
Right.
vehicle.
And so I'm getting a Grand Cherokee on Tuesday, and I'm like, oh, thank God. I think I can get out of that thing so easily. And I'm driving it back home, which is a 3.5-hour drive. And the Colorado, I'll tell you the story in the Colorado. But yeah, it's a long drive, and driving off-road mid-sized trucks that long of a distance, you can do it. It's not the most comfortable drive. I mean, it's okay. And I'm not gonna it rides like a truck. It's fine.
Mhm.
But it was very useful to me the other night. I was driving home, and I have a 3.5-hour drive. Last 40 minutes of my drive, the road's closed. They have a
Oh.
horrible accident, and it turns out it's actually kind of a sad deal. I know the people who's in town. It's a set of parents, and they lost their son in an
Oh,
accident.
no.
Basically, a beat truck made a right-hand turn, slowed down, make a right-hand turn, and he was in a FedEx truck, and he never saw it, and didn't even look up, and went right T-boned, not really T-boned, but just caught the corner of that beat truck, and the beat truck was fully loaded. Beat trucks,
Mm.
you don't know, beat truck's a semi usually in the front. It's got two hauling semi, I don't know what loaders in the back, and this thing is probably, I'm going to say 12-foot long by 15-foot high, full of sugar beets, and just
Right.
took the corner and knocked out. But it's a sad deal. But they closed the road. The guy, I went to the police officer, and he's polite, and he's the road's closed, and they have blocked cars and all that kind of stuff. He's like, well, you can go down to Sydney and go around, and Sydney is another 20 minutes east, and then it's probably another 25 minutes on my way. So about 45 minutes difference. And then he goes, or you can go down to Long Branch Road. If you don't, he said, if you don't mind dirt, go down Long Branch Road and take about 10 miles north, and then you can kind of cut across. We're only closing this one section over here. And I said, oh, okay. And then I turned the corner, and I was like, I'm in a Colorado ZR2. Like, of course I'm going off road. Of course I'm going dirt road, right? Like, why would you not? So I had pulled the map up on the screen, and I'm by myself. I'm tired. I've been out of town all week long. I'm trying to get home. Home is right there, and so I scrunch the map a little bit. I find this Long Branch Road, so I turn off and I turn on what I think is Long Branch Road. Well, it turns out that it turns into a farmer's field, and he's got his corn crop, right? So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
avoid the corn crop. I go on the outside where they basically have the weeds that grow, and they don't care about those. So I go around and I kick up these deer. I'm seeing 3 or 4 deer running around. They're running fast. Then I find a line of telephone poles. I'm like, all right, telephone poles it is, because I know they have a 2-lane track next to telephone poles for maintenance. So I hop over right on the 2-lane, and I put gun down, and I come up to this power station, and I can see the power station is all fenced off. I'm like, well, okay. So I turn like this to go around the power station. I go up the hill a little bit, and boom, there's pavement. Well, turns out across the pavement straight is Long Branch Road. I went through a road that didn't exist. So I was like, oh, whoops. And I was
We
like,
don't
where's
need
my
roads.
GoPro? You know, I should these events always happen to me on my last 30 minutes drive home, and I don't want to pull my GoPro because I wanted to get home, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. So then I get on a long branch road, and I'm like, cool. So I'm going down, and I go out to the first turn, and I'm like, okay, well, in my neck of the woods, when they separated land out here, they made everything in 1 mile squares. So yeah, everything's 1 mile squares, and you basically go east 1 mile, north mile, whatever. So I found this road, and I'm like, this road goes straight north, and so I start going, and I'm like, oh, I got a 0 too. So I'm like doing 65 to this dirt roads because I'm like, I know the cops are busy, right? So I'm like, I don't really care. And I come up on this freaking Honda Odyssey van or something, and I'm like, oh, good lord, he's doing like 35. And I you know, you don't really pass in dirt roads, but I did. I went right around it. And the dudes,
Tim's got to
I
get
could tell,
home.
you know, Grandpa and Grandpa and Mima are inside going, God damn these damn kids and these trucks, right? So I'm like, you know, if I end up in the curb, or the ditch, I'm just gonna power my way through the ditch, right? I don't care. I got front lockers, rear lockers. I got
Right.
I was basically in 2-wheel drive at the time, anyways. It caught me a couple times because I come over these hills and stuff to be a little turn, and I, you know, so it's like I drive all the way out there. I turn back, I hop on the pavement, boom, I'm home. The detour cost me like 10 minutes, and 5 of that was getting through the farmer's field.
It's always an adventure, man.
It is.
And speaking of adventure, one last truck to talk about. Tim, I can tell his coffee mug is running low over there. Is the 24 Ranger, and we hinted earlier about this. The momentum of this truck. I think this was going to be a big hit for Ford, and now with the strikes, I don't know what to think of this truck because I don't honestly. If the strikes were to end today, and I don't think we're in any position to say they would end today, you're another 2 months to probably get production going, getting everything back in. They were already having a little bit of production issues just with some fitment. Ford has this big push for quality right now, which I can tell you, my Mustang, I've done a video on it. They keep pushing because they're not there yet.
Right.
But this truck, man, like, you know, what was it, May? I think that me and you did the press event on this truck, and now all that momentum's gone.
Well, here's a question for you. When's the first drive?
Yeah, I've got nothing from that.
Nobody's driven this thing. So like in Michigan they had a static display, and you could we did our videos on a static version, and I'm guessing it'll drive well. I mean, Ford's EcoBoost systems have done pretty well. Just depends what it's got in the power. I mean, that's my only question is turbo lag and total power. Does it move the truck enough? That's always my questions with these.
Well, so the engine, the framing, I anticipate this will drive much like my Bronco does.
I'm guessing it'll be plenty. That's my I want to know.
But I will say this, something I've noticed from the 2.7 in our Bronco, when I get in the Mustang, you do notice some lag. Like if I've drove the Mustang all day and I hop in the Bronco and need to get into it, I am kind of like, oh, there's a split second of like, oh, it's got to build up pressure and then it goes. So definitely there's a little bit of lag to this. I think it's a great looking truck, Tim, but part of the problem is this truck we've seen almost 2 years now. Once again, the U.S. market, for whatever Ford's reason is, decided we're the last on the list to get their new product. And it's much like this is a car thing, but it's much like the way GM did with the Camaro. I saw it in 3 freaking Transformers movies before we could ever buy one. By the time you could buy one, you're like, oh, this looks old. Does this truck have that problem?
I think it's going to feel outdated pretty quickly. What's confusing about this, from my aspect, is you have the first drives not even close to being coming out. They're trying to build in price. He's putting them on sale. My friend Ryan over at Driving Sports TV, he's got a Ranger Raptor on order, right? And
I have one on order.
He's like, well, you have one order. He's like, well, maybe I'll get one and whenever. Nobody really knows. But my other issue with it is it feels like, once again, Ford doesn't want to build a midsize truck. Like, they killed the Ranger, thought people would buy the F-50. People didn't buy the F-50, brought the Ranger back. So now they've made this more U.S. looking, and looks better. It's more U.S. spec. But it's like, are they still not wanting to build a midsize truck anymore? Like, and the Maverick is kicking butt. So Maverick's kicking butt. The F-Series is kicking butt. The Ranger is like the redheaded stepchild, just lost in the corner. It gets some support. It doesn't get a whole lot of fanfare. And I'm just curious to see where's Ford's approach going to be. Are they going to do a commercial for this? Are they going to do some badass looking commercial? Are they going to start advertising it? I mean, it's like, it's like it's in limbo at the moment. It's like
Well,
this
what is
truck,
Maverick? What did we say? Did you say Maverick was selling?
15,000 a quarter.
15 a quarter. All right. Let's see. Damn it. Stupid
No,
thing
excuse
goes.
me. I have it still pulled up. They
It was 20, wasn't it?
23,931. They've sold 66,430 year to date, and the Ford Ranger sold 31,503. So
Yeah.
basically, the Maverick is 2 to 1 over the Ranger.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
I
in the
but that's
Maverick,
misleading. That is misleading a little bit because that Ranger's been old for a while. People
I
know
know,
that they started seeing press reviews of this thing.
right?
People want the latest and greatest.
But think about all the innovation they did with that Maverick, right? So
Oh, yeah,
they
it's a
cut
great
the
truck.
door handle to make sure you could fit a water bottle in. The bed has all these DIY stuff. They put wiring to the back of the bed. The bed tailgate opens different ways. I mean, they did a lot of work on that Maverick, and it's really competitive. And so it's like, well, why did the Ranger not get the same, focus?
Maybe they anticipate Ranger owners is once more rugged, maybe more capable. I don't know why they wouldn't have taken the Ranger and look, okay, we place Maverick in, we've got an all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive version. Make the Ranger more of it's a four-wheel drive truck. Just push it into that category. But
Yeah.
part of Ranger, why I think they're bringing Ranger to the United States was because they want to bring Everest to the United States as well. They want a body on frame SUV. And I really feel like Mike Levine, the head PR guy over at Ford, he started hinting of Maverick. He was showing some Maverick stuff on his social media, and I really do think that would be part of the appeal of this because in manufacturing you need a build partner. So what a great build partner you would have now because you got the Bronco on the same framing, you would have this truck on the same framing, and then you have the potential Everest on the same framing. That would be a win-win-win for Ford on that. So maybe that's why they're like, maybe lower sales aren't too bad if we can get 3 vehicles out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, right? So, I mean, Honda did that with the Ridgeline, right? So the Ridgeline was basically a pilot with a bed, and then they're like, "Oh, the Ridgeline's selling decently, so great, that's fantastic." But
Yeah,
but we say Everest, and it just reminds me of what the Explorer used to be before
yeah.
they neutered it. Basically, they made a
Well,
unibody.
and I know some
And
within some dealers, and not just one dealer. I know multiple dealers that would like the Explorer to go away. That they want more of a rugged, let the Expedition, let them handle more of the kid friendly stuff. We want more options of rugged. And right now, overlanding, all the whether people actually do it or not, people love to accessorize their vehicles. And overlanding is the ultimate big kid. I get to accessorize my vehicles. When I
Mhm.
was a kid, we used to build those little Revel models and all that stuff. Love doing that. And then you could add whatever you wanted to it. It's just a bigger version of that and a larger wallet version of doing that. So,
Yeah, you
because
get credit.
you've been to Overland Expos and all that. Now there are hardcore people there, but guess what? The people that aren't ever going to use the product are there to buy the product so they can look like they use the product. So people want off-roady vehicles right now. And will that trend change? I'm sure another 10 years the focus will shift somewhere else. But
Sure.
let's see, guys, you've got a couple minutes more I don't want to keep Tim too long there. He's out of coffee. So if you got a couple questions, bring them in real
Yeah.
quickly. And maybe we can convince Tim to continue to do some truck shows together because I get a lot of feedback like the goofiness of me versus you or something. I don't know, but I get a lot of feedback of like it's always a good time when these two clowns get together, I guess. Um
You said it, buddy. The
I
goofiness of Dave.
I know my position, sir. I know my it's fun to see Tim on press trips because we'll kid around, but then like you get into question mode of talking to people and you're just so serious and you get into it as you should. And then I'm just like the little grasshopper jumping around like wee,
Yeah,
just an
when
idiot.
it's time for me to work, it's time for me to work, and
Which is
I
weird
just
because then I get a little bit of that, and Kelly's like, "Hey, we're in town. Let's go see this and that." And I'm like, "No, I'm only here for this. I got to
right.
be dumb here. I can't be dumb all over town. I just focus my dumb."
Yeah,
Um,
no, I mean, at press trips and things, I have an agenda. Like, I have got to get this video done, and I'm going to shoot this video. Like, not an agenda of saying I'm going to bash forward on whatever kind of agenda you're thinking. I'm just saying I have a job to do,
yep.
and I know my job, and so I work really hard. It's a lot of times I'll film really a lot in the morning or whatever, and I film the event, and I go back to the hotel. I get on a treadmill. I do my my fat man on treadmill, my run, my walk, what I'm going to do, and then I have dinner and I have some drinks and I go to bed. I mean, that is me in the press trip. I mean, but I have got to deliver. I got to get some coverage done.
Well, there's nothing worse than Toyota gave me a Supra to do a review on while I was in town in Texas, and we came back from Denton, Texas, where we were at for that press event, and I pulled over. Kelly was trying to find us some accommodations. I thought, cool, I'm gonna do a quick walk around of this Supra, and dude, I was so uninspired. I was tired. Like, people don't realize, like, you get 4 or 5 vehicles in, you're just like, I've got nothing left to give to the world today on these vehicles.
Well, it was like a truck rodeo. I did 3 videos in the span of 35 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever, and that was my entire day. Like, I was done. Like, I left at 11 o'clock. I'd done what I wanted to get done. There was more vehicles to drive, but like, no, they do wear you out. It's funny because this is a dream job for a lot of people, and I am very cognizant of that. But when you get around to other journalists and we talk about events, like, we're worn out. Like, yesterday I did that sales video. I literally watched myself on screen. And I was like, man, I look really worn out. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm jet lagged like crazy. Like, it's
Yes.
it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, I can't do more than 3. I used to do 3 to 4 videos a day, and it was like the 4th video, I was like, right? And I was like, well, this is dumb. So we all have our limits, and my creativity, I'm creative to a certain degree, but I can't do a lot more than that than most events. And it's the same. It's the same game. It sounds weird to say, but like, I'm at the spot now where I'm seeing vehicles from when they first launched, and now they went through the entire cycle. They're getting relaunched, like the Tacoma. I was in 2016. I went to Hawaii and drove the 2017 Tacoma, I think it was, and then 2017, 2018, somewhere in those years. And now I'd seen that vehicle through its entire life cycle, and now I'm doing the first drive of the new model, and that's the stuff that's bizarre to me. And so it makes me. It's easier for me to do it now because I have so much experience. I walk up and I'm like, oh my God, look at all this. And I'm like, well, okay, I've seen, hold on. I've seen this stuff before. And so it's easier for me to zero in on things that I like and dislike, because it's like, I've done this so many times. But yeah, that's the fun that is freaking out me a little bit, is that, and I thought about this the other day, the Tundra. So the Tundra was my first press loan in 2013. I saw the 2014 launch.
You wrote, yeah.
Yeah, and the article was actually not bad. I was like, man, this kid's got a future in the business. And I had no idea at the time, right? But I'd done 2014, and then there was a refresh, slightly modified mid-cycle refresh. Then a 2022 came out, and so if they do a full refresh every 7 years, I have 2 more generations that I'm probably done.
Man, you've already calling it quits. You get
You know
your
what I mean?
futures.
But I mean, that'll be 14 years. Well, actually 14, 7 more. So 14 or 16 more years, and I'll have 28 years in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, how many more? I mean, that's the stuff that goes in my mind. It kind of bogs my mind. Like, how many more generations of these vehicles will I see in my lifetime? I think that's for
which ones go EV,
right? Well, and then they'll go EV. But like, for customers, like, you're gonna buy this Colorado, or you're gonna buy this Canyon, or this Ranger, whatever, and that's great. But depending on your age and stuff, it literally is the only new truck you may ever buy. It may be the only time you ever buy Colorado. I mean, it's interesting to think about that. A little morbid, I agreed, but it's interesting to think about. This is it, and that's why when I go to events, I'm like, this is it. This is the one time I get to do this video. This is it. I have no, I remember I was standing next to the 24 Tacoma, and the rep was there. And one of the Toyota reps was there, and he drove his personal 22 Tacoma up to the event. And he goes, well, he goes, want me to bring my 22 up here and do a side-by-side comparison? And I said, yes. And he looked at me, and I said, yes. And he goes, okay. So he went and got it. And I'm like, this is literally the only time I'll be able to do this video. Like, that video is one time done. That's it. Yeah. I'll never get the prior gen with new gen like that ever again.
Well, it was like our buddies over at Texas Truck Channel, man. They had their ZR2, I don't know if it was a personal win or a press loan, and they got to set it next to the new Tacoma. And I was like, yeah, that's your first. It's done. What can you build? Another channel. What are you going to build on from that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you get one chance of this, one shot. And so,
right, man, we're going to break out some M&M here. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Right. But I mean, you get the one shot, and so you got to, you make as much as you can with it, and that's why it's like that's kind of my frustration in the business a little bit. I'll get a consumer, they'll ask me, "Does it have this? Does it have this?" And I'm like, man, I just don't know. It's like my focus was on this, this, and this, and I had one
Yeah.
shot at it, and so that's the thing.
I took some heat on my Tacoma walk around because I didn't open up the hood. And I just said, hey, if you want more under the hood, Corey with GT Garage did a nice over there. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize, very limited time. For one, there's a lot of press that wants to be first around that vehicle. So, we kind of get where we can get in there and in and out. And I got maybe 15 minutes with that truck, and then it has to move on to somebody else. So yeah, my focus is not, I know as far as audience, sometimes the audience wants, that's why, Tim, I took 100 pictures under that truck, because I knew at some point somebody was going to be like, hey, why didn't you do this? But my focus was the practicality part of it, and everybody else's focus is somewhere else. But that seems like a good place to quit, guys. If you will smash the like button, I don't care which channel you're on, go ahead and click that. Believe it or not, the algorithm loves that, and I would like to convince Tim to do more of these. So the more likes you give, the more reasonable it is for Tim to want to do these. But Tim, it's always fun to get together and chat, buddy. I won't get to probably see you till probably next year, I guess. Probably Chicago is probably the next time I'll get to hang out with you. But I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. I know you got a lot of press trips coming up. Any videos dropping this week that both audiences should know about?
Yeah, I'm way behind getting my Colorado Bison video done. The Jeep 392 video is coming out, and the Lexus TX video will be coming out this week. Those are the big ones, I think. And Jill's got her Colorado ZR2 in the city video, which watching Jill like go through go through Wendy's in a midsize or even like a full size TRX, something like that, it's just hilarious.
Yes,
and it's really good. Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
We got a Dodge Durango video coming up, hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully, if I actually can stay here and continue to work. The SRT, the Hellcat. That was Kelly's dream vehicle, her dream SUV. That's the one she wants, and I told her $106,000 is probably not going to happen unless people keep smashing the like button for us. But that was a fun drive, and just anytime you can hear a supercharger on a big V8, man, it's just exciting. And it's sad we're losing all those. So whether it be 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, it doesn't matter what you drive. And Tim, I'll let you handle your end of this.
Oh, and as always, I'll see you down the road.
Peace, everybody.